looking at, and this is Rob, and we're here to preview the preseason Week 2 games. Let's get right into it. Alright, so our first game are the Eagles and the Jaguars going at it in Jacksonville. Eagles' last game was a loss 27-10 versus Tennessee, and the Jaguars' last game was a shutout to Baltimore 29-0. The Eagles are missing Fletcher Cox. He has a foot injury, not expected to play in the preseason, but a return for the start of the regular season is still possible. Not a good voice, but bear with me here. Dad, what's your opinion?
Well, 2 years ago, the Jaguars were everyone's favorite pick to go to the Super Bowl, coming off their AFC championship game loss to the Patriots. They struggled last year, so we'll see if Nick Foles helps them bounce back. And as for the Eagles, they are loaded with talent, but not much depth. So they got to keep their players healthy, particularly Fletcher Cox, who's one of the best defensive linemen in the league, as well as their quarterback, Carson Wentz.
The Jaguars are the final team in the AFC South that have a good enough quarterback to lead them to a division championship. And the reason they got that 2017 AFC championship is just because of their defense. Bortles was an overrated quarterback for Jacksonville. So, what are your predictions?
I don't like making predictions on preseason games, but I think you'll see the Eagles' offense do pretty well against the Jaguars' defense, and same on the Jaguars' end. Some good offense, not much defense.
All right, I'm going with you there. Not much defense, but a lot of offense. Fletcher Cox is out, so that'll be a blow to the defense. And let's go into the next game. All right, so our second game, it's the hometown Jets, our favorite team, taking on the Atlanta Falcons in Atlanta. Jets' last game, it was in MetLife against the Giants, a loss 31-22. Skies opened up, and that delayed the game. Falcons' last game, a loss 34-27 at Miami. So, Dad, what are the injuries?
Well, on the Jets side, the area where they can least afford an injury is cornerback, and their high-paid cornerback, Tremaine Johnson, is out of this game.
Cool.
Tremaine Johnson was the Jets' high-priced cornerback acquisition last year, and he did not have a very good 2018. The Jets need him to bounce back in a big way this year because they are extremely thin at cornerback. So that's going to be a big problem during this game and probably during the entire regular season. The Jets do not have a good pass rush, nor do they have deep depth at cornerback, and that's a recipe for disaster in today's pass-happy NFL. Even though they're going to rely on Greg Williams to bring the pressure with some exotic blitzes, you need cornerbacks to do that, and my opinion, the Jets don't have them.
And speaking of pass-happy, the Falcons, they've lost Julio Jones to a foot injury, but he's back at running routes at full speed, so he'll be better for Week 1. Falcons have also lost Kenyon Barner, their running back. He's got an undisclosed injury, but he didn't practice on Tuesday, so we'll keep you update with the latest. And I think it's time for the predictions. Again, you don't like making predictions.
Predictions, I think you'll see the Jets offense do well against Atlanta's defense, and I think you'll see Matt Ryan, even without Julio Jones, put up some points against the Jets' first unit.
Well, I think it's going to be a close game since this is the preseason. If it was a regular season, I would say the Falcons would jump out to an easy win considering what we've seen from our starters. But again, it's the preseason, so mostly backups playing. I think it's going to be a close game, but the Jets are going to come back and get the away win. So, next game. All right, so two teams coming off a win. It's the Packers and the Ravens down in Baltimore. Packers' last game, a very close one, 2-point game against Houston. It was 28-26 with the Packers winning. And the Ravens' last game, 29-0 shutout against the Jaguars. We talked about them earlier. No key injuries, it seems, for this game. So I guess, Dad, what's your thoughts?
Well, I think everyone's still waiting to see how Aaron Rodgers is going to work with his new quarterback, his new head coach, who's a quarterback coach, Matt LaFleur. Devontae Adams is a big weapon at wide receiver. The Packers' defense, in my opinion, is terrible. So we'll see what happens. And everyone keeps hearing about this Raven offense that's going to revolutionize the NFL the same way that Bill Walsh's West Coast offense revolutionized the NFL. I'm a little confused as to what's going to happen with that, because now they're saying Lamar Jackson's going to break the record for rushing attempts, and he's going to become a pocket passer. So I don't really understand what it is. So it'll be worth watching in week 1 to see what they unveil. I doubt they'll unveil any of it in preseason week 2, and they certainly didn't unveil it in preseason week 1.
Well, that's what the preseason is about, getting the players cut and getting that 53-man roster finalized.
Yep.
And then week 1 you start playing for real. You don't have to predict, but I'm going with a very close one, but it's going to be the Ravens edging out the Packers.
Yep.
Since, again, preseason game.
My prediction is Aaron Rodgers will play better than Lamar Jackson.
My prediction is that none of them will start. Alright, so 2 more games to go here to preview. The Bengals and the Redskins. The Bengals last game, a loss 38-17 versus Patrick Mahomes' Chiefs, even though he didn't play. They're still the Chiefs, so they're good. And the Redskins last game, a loss 30-10 against Baker Mayfield's Cleveland Browns. The injury report, the big one here for the Redskins, Colt McCoy, their starting quarterback now that Alex Smith is out. Coach Jay Gruden confirmed that McCoy, who has a leg injury, won't play in today's preseason game against the Bengals, and that gives the start to Case Keenum, their new backup quarterback. Who remembers when Case Keenum was the big breakout quarterback on the Vikings? Well, now I do, giving a refresher, but those moments are long gone, and hopefully he can build a nice starting presence in Washington.
Well, and you think about it, the Redskins had their quarterback in Kirk Cousins, who was putting up good numbers and not many wins, and the Vikings gave him a mega contract, and he underperformed last year in Minnesota, went from being a whisker away from the Super Bowl to not having a good season last year, and now Case Keenum is trying to work some magic with the Redskins. Redskins have a pretty good defense, not a very good offense. They're still missing their left tackle, Trent Williams, who's, I believe, a 5 or 6-time All-Pro. He's one of the best in the game. He's not budging. The Redskins aren't budging. I think he wants a trade, and the Redskins are saying no. So that'll be interesting to see what happens. But you never want to have a good quarterback back there, a high-priced quarterback for sure, without his All-Pro left tackle.
All right, so NFC East, really, your predictions, I remember you telling me that the NFC East wasn't really that good of a division this year.
Well, my opinion is I think the Giants are not going to be very good. I don't think the Redskins are going to be very good. I think the Cowboys are a bit overrated, especially if Zeke Elliott's not there. And if they're counting on Dak Prescott and his $35 to $40 million a year salary demands to carry them to a division title, I think that's a mistake. So I think the Eagles have the most talent. Can Carson Wentz stay healthy, and can their starters stay healthy enough to win the division?
Hopefully you can, in sake of the Philly fans, for their second Super Bowl in what is it, like 3 years now? Yeah. Predictions, really just not a good game on my part. It is the preseason, so I'm probably going to be a low-scoring game. I'm saying the Redskins win on a chip shot field goal.
Okay.
All right, our final game to cover, it's the late game. It's the Raiders and the Cardinals out on the West Coast. The Raiders' last game, it was a win 14-3 against the Rams. Injury report, 2 big injuries. We covered Antonio Brown over in SportsCenter. He has frostbite on his foot. So, froze his foot, and he's going to have a bunch of concussions if he keeps the holdout on the helmet.
Yeah, he's got some issues from head to toe. He doesn't like his helmet, and he got frostbite on his foot from staying in the chamber a bit too long.
Yeah, and their cornerback for the Raiders, Nevin Lawson, he officially received a 4-game suspension on Monday for violating the league's substance abuse policy. And yeah, his thoughts on that? Not really a big player, but it's cornerback, so defense is key.
I don't think anyone's expecting much from either of these teams this year, the Raiders or the Cardinals, given who the division the Raiders play in with the Chiefs and the Chargers, and the Cardinals division with the Rams and the Seahawks. It's going to be tough mountain to climb for them to make the playoffs.
Maybe the 49ers might have a breakout year this year.
Maybe.
Cardinals last game, a win against the Chargers, 17-13. I think that's it. No injuries for the Cards. And that's it. Predictions, Rob?
Well, I think the only thing to watch in this game is to see how Kyler Murray does with the Cardinals. Was he worth the number 1 overall pick? And what does John Gruden do with Derek Carr? John Gruden this week again talked about how he loves Nate Peterman. For those of you who know about Nate Peterman, you can scratch your head about that
picks.
one. Yeah, you can look up his career statistics and be confused as to why John Gruden thinks he's great. But he did run for a 50-something yard touchdown last week.
John Gruden's
So
living
maybe
in
that's
2002.
But that's it. So I think it's to watch how the quarterbacks play in this game, and that's about it.
All right, so that's it for Rob and me. This has been Thursday NFL Countdown. We'll see you at halftime.